Two. Hey, everybody, Joe Grushkin from the National Association of Local Businesses. And I'm excited to bring you an old friend and a very established speaker. His name is Glenn Van Deusen, and he is the founder and president of VDLA, which is a branding, strategy, and consulting company. And he's here to talk to us today about branding, strategies, and how to increase your brand online. So, and in person, I guess. So, Glenn, thank you for sharing with us today.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. Nice to be here, and always a pleasure to work with you, Joe. And nice to meet your big new audience here.
Well, the Onward and Upward virtual networking group is yours, and I think you have some great tips to share with everybody. So let's have at it. So, what would you like to share with us about branding today?
Sure. Well, I guess maybe just to start off, what's a brand? Because that's often a confusing topic for people. What actually is a brand? Is it a logo? No. Is it a name? No. Is it a tagline? No. It's all of those things, but it's so much more, right? Your brand, my definition, I've been doing this for 30 plus years now. So my definition is a brand is a perception, it's a promise, and it's a reassurance and trust. So it's that perception of what people think of you. So when they hear your company name, what comes to mind? What immediately, what are they thinking about? And is that the same thing that you as the business owner or head of your organization, is that the same thing that you have in your mind? And if those perceptions aren't aligned, you need to get that fixed, right? So it's a perception, it's a promise, right? So it's the promise of saying, we will do this for you. We will deliver this service. We'll deliver this product. We'll help you get thinner. We'll help you, talk to your kids better. We'll help you have a more beautiful lawn, whatever it might be. And then do you deliver on that promise? Or does your brand deliver on that promise that you made? So that's the perception, the promise, and then the reassurance of trust, right? It's why people will go up, in the grocery store and pick up a, Chiquita banana for whatever they are, 40 cents, versus a no-name banana for 30 cents. Well, why do they do that? Because there's this perception that they can trust that branded one.
And that trust comes from the advertising, the promotion,
right,
referrals, what other people have said, reviews, whatever it might be. So, whether you're an insurance agent or an accountant or a car dealer or, a marketer of any kind, the brand is really who you are. Mm-hmm. It's not the product or service, but it's who you are and the conveyance of that, right?
That's right. It's who you are in the mind of that customer. Mm-hmm. The classic story is you don't own your brand. It lives in the mind of your customer. That's where that brand resides. So how do you, and that's an amazingly powerful asset, right? And most companies, somewhere the latest statistics were showing 70 to 80% of the value of the company was the intangible value of their brand.
Wow.
I think, you look at any of these big acquisitions, Gillette's acquisitions and Coke's acquisitions, these big companies that pay billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire these brands. And you look at the tangible value of the plant and the equipment and the trucks, it's a very, very small portion of that, what they paid. They're paying for that brand. So the point is, if you own a small business, you've got that same thing. And that's what I get. That's why I get so passionate about going out and talking to people, because you can do all the stuff the big companies do. You can do all that value creation of your brand. You can do that too, even if you're a solopreneur.
And nowadays, with a phone and internet and a digital camera, mm-hmm. you can look like the big guys.
Yep.
Producing TV and radio and print and digital ads, social media. All of that gives every business the same opportunity to create a brand.
Right. Yeah. And to me, the key here is, and I always tell people that I'm working with, everyone else is telling you spend more, right? Spend more on media, spend more on advertising, spend more on social media. And my pushback is, until you know what it is that you really want to talk about, until you know what that brand story is, or most simplistically, what makes you special, you being your company, your service, your product, what is it that makes that unique, special, better than the next guy? Because until you figure that out, you're wasting money on those other things. Some of it's effective, yes, but you're not getting the full potential out of your brand. You're not getting the full potential out of all that marketing activity you do if you don't first know what makes you special. So
So important.
that's the key. That's the
So
key.
important. So what other tips do you have?
So I guess on that, how do you define what makes you special? Well, one, take a good assessment of who you are. Just think to yourself what your brand stands for, what you represent, and then go talk to some people, right? Whether you just do it informally, whether you do it over the phone, whether you do it when they're making a transaction, or whether you do it as a survey, and it could be a survey monkey, it doesn't cost you anything. You can do a free survey, or maybe you have somebody fill out a response, a little card every time they make a purchase, or if they're buying from you online, have a little question that pops up. Did we deliver everything you were hoping for today? Were you able to find as easily? Whatever, just ask, right? Ask some questions of your customers. That's the first thing, right? So think about this in the real simple way. If you're at point A and you're trying to get your business to point B, you want to double your business, you want to increase by 20% this year, whatever that is. The best way to get from point A to point B is to first understand where point A is, right? And the only way to do that, because your brand resides in the mind of your customer, is to ask your customer, where do they think you are? How do they perceive you? So that's my first big tip. Get that voice of the customer. You've probably heard that expression, right? Listen to what they're saying. Figure out where that point A is first.
A lot of times you can also find out who you are by who you don't want to be, or who you want to be, and look at your competitors.
Mm-hmm.
See what their reviews are online, see what people like about them and what they hate about them. And by looking at what your competitors are doing, you can then help define who you are as a business. You can say, hey, we want to be like this, but we don't want to be like this, and we're going to avoid it by doing this.
That's right.
So by having a comparative analysis, if you're a new business or new in business, you can then target who you want to be and how you can get there.
Right. Well, and you hit a great one there with targeting, right? Who is your target audience? Who is your target competition, right? So if you own a restaurant, let's say you own a pizza restaurant, right? Well, the 5-star white glove, white linen, restaurant down the street is not your competition. Right? So you can't just say my competition is other restaurants. That's not right. That's not accurate. So define your audience, define your target, define your competition as precisely as you can. I think that one of the biggest mistakes companies make is they want to appeal to everybody, right? They want everybody to do business with them. They want everybody, and that's not practical. So who is that precise person that you want?
Beautiful.
And write that down, sketch it out, really get a clear image in your mind of who that person is. How old are they? What gender are they? Where do they live? How much do they spend? What do they like to eat? Really figure out who that person is, because then when you go to develop your communications, your advertising, your whatever, you're talking to a person, and it just makes the connection so much more friendly.
So powerful, so powerful. So what's your next point?
So I guess the next one, so you've now figured out where you are, right? You found out where you want to go. So you've developed your strategy of how you want to get there. Don't forget when you're developing that strategy that people buy on how they feel. They buy on emotion. They justify it rationally, but the trigger is always emotion. So it doesn't matter if you have a lawn care service or a pool company, pool cleaning service, or a restaurant or a consultancy or a car dealership, as you mentioned. You've got to have that personal emotional connection in there somehow. And so that's another one that we often see people miss, is you have to appeal to the heart as well as the head. So again, look at what you do. Put all your communications out. Look at your business card. Look at maybe your company uniform. Look at how your correspondence goes out. And is it consistent? So that would be my next one. Be consistent. Be clear and consistent.
On that same note, though, Glenn, I think it's also so important, I'm sure you'll agree, that authenticity and communication of who you are as a person. So many times, you mentioned the car dealership, you see the owner, this is who we are, this is my family, and we've been serving the community with integrity for so many years. Whether you're on TV or you're on a social media post or you're putting out a flyer, having your personal connection to that business draws people in because that attracts like-minded, like and trust
Mhm.
mentality of your customers. So important and so powerful
Yeah,
knowing who you are. Good,
yeah. And
good.
look at, when you go to develop whatever expressions of your brand, right? With that customer experience, right? That's a huge part of your brand. What is that experience like? That experience in person, that experience online? Do you say that you're an easy to work with company and then somebody goes to your website and they have to click 6 things to get to a phone number? Well, that's
Mhm.
not a very easy to work with company, right? So you've got to have that experience true to who you are. You've got to have all those things be consistent, right? And I always say to people, when you look at your strategy and your positioning and how you want your perception to be in the marketplace, it's not about all the things you can say about your business. It's about the one thing that you must say.
Got it.
You have to let go of things, right? Great brand positioning is about giving up stuff so that they can remember one thing. What is it? 5,000 commercials a day, I think, is the exposure that people have. If you can get them to remember one thing about your organization, one thing about your business, you're light years ahead of your competition. So don't try and say too much. Say
I've heard,
that thing that makes you special. Back to where I started. Find
I,
that thing that makes you special and say that one thing and then stop. Right? You don't
I've
fill
heard
in
it said, I've heard it said that the human mind through your eyes picks up, if the human mind picks up over 500,000 impressions a day.
believe it.
500,000 things, senses, lights, sounds, images. And those commercials are going to get caught up in that clutter.
Absolutely.
So it has to be something that really pops and stands out and is a pattern interrupt is another phrase I heard where wow, what was that?
Right.
So
Right.
that's very cool. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Great. So do you have any final tips?
Well, you and I had talked a little bit in the past about, that logo, or what should that image be? What should that design be on the side of your truck or whatever it might be? And there's really, there's been a lot of trends and fads and whatnot. At one point, everyone wanted to be minimalistic. Everyone then wanted to have a swoosh, then everyone had to be graphically edgy. Ignore all those things. And what you want to do is, again, find the thing that is the true representation of what it is that you're all about. That thing that makes you feel good about your business. That thing that says to people, oh, this is a little bit different. And remember, no brand exists in a vacuum. So when you do this, look at the marketplace. Look at, again, you've defined who your key competitors are. How are they expressing themselves in the way that they talk about themselves, the way that their logo, their color scheme, and so on. We did a project a few years ago and we did that, and the top 6 competitors to our client all used the color blue in some shape or fashion for all their communications. So one of the first things was, well, don't use blue, right? Do something different, do something to stand out. So it's not a matter of being trendy, it's a matter of being unique. It's a matter of being distinctive and being memorable and being true to yourself. Because people will see that. People want authenticity more than ever.
So Glenn, when people work with you on your brand or on their brand or what's the process that you take them through?
It's 4 steps. And again, this is regardless of the industry you're in, regardless of the size of your company, even regardless of the country you're in. 4 steps. Discovery. What do I need to know? What are the things that are important for me to understand, to hear from my customers or my prospective customers, that so I can be smarter about the way I do things, because now I know how their heads are working. Now I know how their hearts are reacting to things. So that's discovery. Then it's definition, which is, okay, we just learned a bunch of stuff. What does it mean? How do we take what we heard and turn that into, well, our brand story is going to be about what? Connection to the community. It's going to be about trust. It's going to be about great taste. It's going to be about what is that thing? What is that strategy that the discovery said it should be, right? So discovery, what do I need to know? Definition, what does that tell me? And how do I set that up? Third is expression, which is now creating the words, the imagery, right? You don't want to have for instance, let's say you're working on your website, and on one page you have a lot of great pictures. Then the next page you have like drawings and stick characters. And then the next page you have caricatures. No, no, no. Pick a design style, pick an approach. And that's the expression phase. And then the final phase is implementation, which is now just making that all come to life. And then finding the right social media channels to be on, finding the right ways to convey your story in the local press or in newspapers, if people are still using those in any way, or how in direct mail might you want to do that, or if you're setting up a booth at a local little trade event, but all the implementation. So discovery, definition, expression, implementation. Those are the 4 steps.
And that's what professionals do in any business. So having somebody guide you through it is obviously a necessity. So
it is. And it's really hard for people to see their organization in the way their customers see it, right? So I keep saying, go out and talk to people, but I would also highly recommend get someone else to talk to them. Mm-hmm. Because that outside view, that outside perspective, and again, whether that's me or somebody else, it doesn't matter, but get somebody else to look at it. There's an old expression I love, which says, I don't know who discovered water, but it wasn't a fish.
Yeah, right.
Because they're too close to it.
They're living in it.
They're living in it every day. And if you own your own business, that's how you're that fish, right? You're not going to see it the same way that people outside are going to see it. So get somebody to help you kind of see your business in a way that you perhaps can't because you're so close to it.
Great advice and great insights and great tips for our audience. So thank you, Glenn. This was really very insightful. It was really a meaty topic, and I think it's going to lead to a lot of great conversation.
Right.
So Glenn, go ahead.
I hope I helped some people there with some good ideas. I love this. It can make such a difference. Your brand is your most leverageable asset in your business. If you get your brand 10% right, you can see 100% growth in your business. It has that leverage capability.
And you can see you're very passionate about it and very knowledgeable, and we really appreciate all that information. So right. Glenn Van Deusen, VDLA, Business Consulting, Branding, and Strategy. So Glenn, thank you so much for sharing with the Onward and Upward Virtual Networking Group. I'm Joe Grushkin from the National Association of Local Businesses. Let's get to networking. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Joe.